Hey guys, my name's James. Thank you very much for joining me today. What I'm going to be doing is a body language breakdown of Bill Shorten's recent interview with Lee Sales. I'm hoping to get to the bottom of a few things that were said and how he responded. If you want to see the full interview, link is just in the description below. If you like what you see, don't forget to comment, like and subscribe. Now let's get into it.
Bill Shorten, great to have you on the show.
Great to be on the show, Lee.
At your National Press Club speech a few weeks ago, 15 times you said the words, "You can trust Labor." And I've lost count of how many times I've heard you say that elsewhere. Given your record, aren't voters smart to distrust you?
Not at all. Labor's developed great policies in healthcare, education, jobs, renewable energy.
Okay, so what you can see here is he's lifted his shoulders as he said jobs, and that's just to emphasize the word.
Jobs, renewable energy, the NBN, housing affordability. And also Labor has learned to work as a team. One of the first things we had to do when we went into opposition is become united. We've done that. We've been a strong opposition. And now we're setting...
Okay, and if you see that he said now, and he lifted his shoulders again, he's emphasizing that word again.
Now we're setting the political agenda by being a big target opposition with lots of policies for people to talk about.
What he's done here is he's finished his reply and proudly raising his head, lifting his chin, closing his eyes. It's almost saying, I'm finished what you have required from me. I'm not threatened by you. Give me the next question.
When you look at the payment system, it's at the heart of Medicare. And people may care to, fall for what Malcolm's saying, but I won't give up on Medicare, and I'm going to fight to defend Medicare, and I don't think outsourcing the payment system is in the best interest of the Medicare.
Okay, so he said I don't think outsourcing is in the best interest of the Medicare. What he is saying here, that's a personal opinion from him, and he also gives a shoulder raise, which indicates that he's unconfident in what he's saying. It's sort of like he palms it off in a way because himself doesn't believe that 100%.
Can you put your hand on your heart and look Australians in the eye and say that the Coalition has a policy to privatise Medicare?
I can say to the people of Australia that this election and their vote on July the 2nd will determine the future of Medicare.
Is the Coalition privatising Medicare?
You've asked me to talk to the Australian people here, and I just want to take another 30 seconds and answer your first question.
By him asking for another 30 seconds so he can talk to the people, what he's doing is essentially stalling for time. Now, say you stall for 1 second, in your mind is actually around 10 seconds worth of communication because you have that time to talk to yourself, and you communicate with yourself a lot faster than you do by speaking verbally or through your body language. And that's what he's doing right now. He's stalling, and in that time he's trying to come up with a new response to the question without sounding like he's avoiding it and without sounding like he's going too far off topic.
On July the 2nd, Australians will have a choice. It'll be about the future of Medicare. You can vote Labor and make sure that we keep the price of our healthcare system down and that we keep it in government hands. Or you can vote Liberal, and you look at the range of their cuts and a range of their manoeuvres, and we will head down the path of an Americanised healthcare system where it is how much you earn will determine the quality of your healthcare.
She just asked him a simple question, a yes or no answer would have been fine, and he gave us like this whole tour to some other location. Now, evade and elude is a sign of deception, and he just did both of those things.
Started this by raising the issue of trust.
Okay, so what he just did there was a head nod and an approval to the next questions, and he was kind of excited that she'd be moving on. However, unbeknownst to him, she's going to ask the same question.
So why I keep going on about the privatisation of Medicare is because you're using words like the Americanisation, the privatisation of Medicare. The Prime Minister has explicitly ruled it out and labelled it the biggest lie of the campaign. And so why do you keep saying that Medicare is going to be privatised?
Because throughout this election, as I've travelled around talking to tens of thousands of people, they keep telling me, Bill, make sure you don't let the Liberals harm Medicare. And so there is a big difference. Malcolm Turnbull's running dishonest ads where he says he guarantees Medicare funding.
But you're not addressing my question, which is you're claiming that they're privatising Medicare, holus bolus, and that policy doesn't exist.
No, I've said that they had plans to privatise the payment system. And those.
So what we see here is another half shoulder raise. He's turned his face into his shoulder, so he's sort of brushing it off again. He's also got a mouth shrug. Now, if you have a look, he says plans, but he goes, so he's got the mouth shrug here. But watch, he says plans before, and it's not as defined.
Plans do exist. I've said that they've set up a productivity.
Okay, and he's followed straight away with a stutter as well. So that just goes to show that his thinking now is off.
When will you come clean about Labor's secret plan to reintroduce onshore processing and abandoned boat turnbacks?
Okay, well, there's two big statements there. Let's deal with both of them. I'm saying that Mr Turnbull can't be trusted on Medicare because of what he said he intends to do with it. He intends to make you pay more to see the doctor, pay more for your blood tests, pay more for your medicine. These are facts. That's why you can't trust Mr Turnbull. And as for the second proposition you advance, the Liberal Party's been trying to say to Australians that we have a different plan to them in terms of deterring people smugglers. They should be ashamed of themselves for running that argument.
But
because we don't. That's the short answer. We don't have a different plan to the coalition in terms of deterring people smugglers.
But if I...
She asked him about Medicare and he avoided answering the question directly. She asked him about this, pushed him just a little bit, and he gave us a "we don't." Straight up, off the bat, no hesitation, just we don't. We don't have a plan that's different. He can answer a question in less than 2 words, but he just refuses not to in other cases.
You railed and railed about the government ripping $57 billion out of hospitals in the 2014 budget, and then when it comes time to put your money where your mouth is, you offer only $2 billion on top of the $2.9 billion extra promised by government.
Well, what you're referring to is the hospitals component of our health approach. Actually, what we've said for healthcare is that we will put back $12 billion over 10 years in terms of unfreezing the GP.
Okay, no worries.
It's not $57 billion.
Perhaps if I could explain what we have said and then you can discuss, you can give me your opinion.
Okay, so he's doing a few things here. We'll start with the first one, and that is him saying, perhaps I can explain what I've said. Now, by him saying this, he knows there's something to explain, and the way he looks while he is saying it shows that he knows it isn't good. He's got his head tucked down into his chest, he's looking up through his eyebrows, and he kind of looks like a child that's been in trouble with his parents. And he knows that there's repercussions if he doesn't answer this properly. He also then goes on to say, you can discuss, give me your opinion. So by saying this, he's stalling for time because she's an interviewer, she's going to give an opinion and she's going to ask questions about whatever he says next. So he's basically just sort of stating the obvious in an attempt to buy more time. Also at the very end, he goes, that is a last-ditch effort for an extra second so he can fabricate something in his mind so it sounds good when he delivers it. All in all, this part of the interview, it looks like he has loss of power, lowered status, and he's now seeking approval.
It's not $57 billion.
Well, perhaps if I could explain what we have said and then you can discuss, you can give me your opinion. What they want to see are united parties. And I've got to just put on record my gratitude to my party for the sense of unity of purpose that we've had since then. When you talk about some of the programs and some of the measures of government, under this government, they've never recorded a surplus.
No, we're talking about your record.
No, they are, but it just, let's be clear.
So he says under this government. When he says that, like before, he puts his chin into his chest, has that same shameful look on his face. Let's just be clear, breaks eye contact with her, moves him down to his lap. That comes across as a very submissive gesture, and it shows that she has more control over him at this point.
No, they are, but it just, let's be clear.
Even your enemies are conceding that you're having a very good campaign. Your supporters are thrilled with it. If it ends up being a hung parliament, would you really get that close to being Prime Minister and then walk away rather than negotiate with the Greens?
Throughout this whole interview, he keeps on doing this thing, which is quite annoying, where he lifts his head, having his chin poked right up, looking down his nose at the interviewer. After stroking his ego a bit about how people are saying it's a good campaign, and then mentioning Prime Minister, he goes from up here to nearly falling back off his chair. He might as well stand up just to get that extra bit of height. He shows so much pride in himself that it just comes across as smug. Well guys, that's it. That's my analysis on Bill Shorten. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope you learned something. If you want to find out more on body language, just head over to my website at theobservantman.com. And until next time, I'm going to leave you with him. Take care.
Bill Shorten, thank you very much. We'll see you again before Election Day.
Thanks, Lee. Great to be with you.